Hello, I'm Ritchie Knox, and you're tuned into Virtuous Teacher. Thank you for clicking on the content. I certainly appreciate it. This episode, we'll be talking about why we're blessed to be teachers. And before we get into it, be sure to check out the descriptions area for ways to connect and support my initiatives. Let's get it. All right. And of course, you can find more content like this on YouTube by searching Virtuous Teacher or anywhere that you get your podcasts. Okay. Now, first off, I want to point out one of my favorite parts about being a teacher, and it is having thousands of children. All right. Now I'm somebody who wanted 5 kids, 10 kids, 100 kids if I could. But then you have that first child and reality sets in. I mean, there's the financial burden. There's the pain from childbearing. For my ladies, I know exactly what you mean. My wife tells me. So all that stuff kind of comes into play, and you realize very quickly you can't have 10, 15 kids. It's just not really feasible. But the supplement to that dream that I have is children, my students. Think about it. Our students spend more time with us than they do their parents in some cases. I mean, they go home at 3, 4, 5 o'clock, and before you know it, they're in the bed probably sleeping and getting ready for the next day. So in a lot of ways, our students kind of become our family, our children in some instances. That helps me segue into my next point, which is this is how I view my students. I view my students as my own children. And obviously there are limitations that are great to have because I don't want to take care of them past 2:30. Honestly, I don't. But while they're in my presence, I certainly, treat them as if I care about them, because I do. I actually care about their well-being. That's my job, to make sure they're safe, to make sure that they're learning and being the best possible version of themselves. And, that's part of why I wanted to be a parent, is because I wanted these little versions of me to go out into the world and change it for the better. And I wanted to be responsible for their personal growth. And with students, I get a lot of that. I get a lot of that without having to take on all the financial aspects of a child's life and things like that. So I would say I'm extremely blessed because I get to help mold so many people. It makes me feel good because God trusted me with the world's most precious commodity. Think about it. Our future is our most precious commodity. It's not gold, it's not silver, it's the future. Our children, our little students, right? They're not always going to be those rambunctious little individuals running back and forth, causing chaos. Eventually they'll mature and they'll go out into the workforce and provide stability for our world. I mean, think about you and I. I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to make you believe that I've been this version of myself since I was a kid. I mean, I remember being bad and running and fighting and scrapping and clawing. And, I remember all that. And I know I was a problem in high school because I remember going back to my high school 1 year after, and I bumped into my teacher. Actually, let me tell the story more accurately. I bumped into her classroom door, and I kind of like knocked on it. I was just going to say hello to Mrs. Culp, and she saw me and was like, "Oh my God," and then turned around and started teaching again. It's like she had the most craziest flashback just seeing my face. So I know I was a headache to her, right? And I didn't understand it then, and now I understand it now. Like if I see kids that already graduated and I've already name dumped them out of my brain, and I see them 2 years later, it's like, oh my gosh, everything I went through with that child kind of comes back. But nevertheless, God trusted us, trusted you, trusted me with the most precious commodity that we have on the planet, which means something. I don't know what it means. It means something. You could have been anything, but for some reason, God saw you as someone suited to handle something so precious. And I think that is why we're blessed. Children are our future, and God trusted us with them. Think about what that means. Like that is incredibly valuable as a career. You're responsible for the future. We're like superheroes. They have this little saying that not all superheroes wear capes. And man, as a teacher, you really know that. You realize just how important you are to the fabric of the world, or the infrastructure of the world. I made a little joke in episode 1 of the Virtuous Teacher podcast, and I said on January 7th, every teacher should just quit because, the world is taking advantage of us. They don't quite understand our value. They're paying movie stars, athletes, everybody's getting all this money. We're at the bottom of the barrel, but our work and what we do on a daily basis is probably the most important. And they wouldn't really know that until we all decided to just lay our teaching hat down. Like, you know what, since you're not paying us, you're not giving us the respect we deserve, we'll lay it down. And that's when they'll realize, you know what, we really need those people. Let's pay them an extra $100,000 a year. I think every teacher should be making six figures or more. I don't care if it's your first year or your last. I think every teacher should be making six figures or more. I don't think any teacher should be making less than. I think every teacher right now deserves between 50 and 100,000 more added to their salary. And I don't think that is asking too much. You know, we're giving money to different countries for relief. What about the incentives for us? And why do we have to strike in order to get these things? Why do we have to quit our jobs or threaten to, why do we have to do all that? That's not necessary. I think America has failed teachers in the sense that they know how valuable we are to everything. Think about it. What would you be if you never encountered a teacher? I mean, seriously, what would you be? We are one of the most important group of people on planet Earth. We're teaching, we're sacrificing our time and giving it to someone else. It's the most amazing career ever. You're taking all this information that you've learned and gleaned through various times in your life, and you're giving it away. And unfortunately, the economy, or I should say American society, doesn't value that enough, that it's giving us a lot more. I think financially is what I'm talking about. Don't get me wrong, I love the compensation I get in terms of the warm and fuzzies when I see a student go from this level to the next level. Like today, I had students doing some of the most rigorous work, and I saw such growth from the first time I saw them back in September, late August. But where they've come now versus where they were then is so it's like they wouldn't believe the people they are right now. If I took the versions of them from August and say, hey, this is you and look what you did, they'd be like, how did I do that? They wouldn't even know. And that's because of the work I'm pouring into these students and the way that they're receiving the teaching and the way they're applying what I'm teaching them. So they are a huge part of their growth as well, obviously, but still, I just feel like we're getting the short end of the stick. And if I can do anything about it, I'm going to change it. And I think it starts with us, right? It starts with us advocating for us. But not to get off topic, we get to mold the future. Think about this, all right? If children are our future and we have them for 9 hours a day, I think as teachers, we have a lot to say about the future through the children, all right? Think about your favorite teacher and how they molded you and how they prepared you. And now look at you. Did you know you were going to be a teacher when you were in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 12th grade? Probably not. Most likely you didn't think that this would be your career. But think of all the teachers you've encountered that have molded you. And now look at you. You're a small microcosm of all these different personalities who have molded you into who you are today. And this is why I think we're so blessed, because we have such a strong say-so about the future. All right. And I would argue that this is one of my favorite things, is that our influence will live on through thousands of people for years to come. Every single student that encounters you or comes to your classroom or has had your classroom for any length of time, they're going to pull certain things from your personality, from your teaching style. And in essence, you're influencing them. You're going to influence them. And this is why our job is so important. It's why it's so important that we bring the best versions of ourselves, because even though we are superheroes, at the end of the day, when we come home, we're just people. All right. We take our cape off, we remove our mask, and we're just like everybody else. And then we gear up and we go back in and we lock it back down again. But at the end of the day, our influence is what carries on, and it carries on for a long time. I'll give you a perfect example. I'll use myself first. There were teachers that both I liked and those I did not like that I teach like today. Mr. Robinson was my computer teacher. He's a principal now in Detroit, Michigan, and at a school called Paul Robeson, I believe. And I would always struggle in his class. He was the computer teacher, and at the time, computers were fairly new. And, we were talking about modems. I had no idea what that was. We were talking about, all these technical computer terms. All right. Browser. These words were absolutely foreign to me. at the time. And it's funny because now I'm like, I wish I can take this class again because now I understand all this stuff. And I'm doing editing, I'm doing my own videos, I'm doing podcasts, which requires a lot of technical know-how. And Mr. Robinson would be extremely proud of me today. But at the time, I could not stand his class. I failed all of his quizzes. He was a difficult teacher to get along with for me, for my personality, because he had favorites and I was not one of them. You know, the list goes on and on. But now I think my teaching style, in a lot of ways, most mirrors Mr. Robinson, which is strange. All right. I feel most like Mr. Robinson than I do any of my teachers that I've had in the past. So that means his influence is now influencing my students. All right. And then my second teacher I would say is most influential was Mr. Michaels. He was my art teacher. And I don't know, I'm kind of weird like him a little bit, you know, and so forth and so forth. The bigger point is these teachers are probably retired by now. Mr. Robinson is the principal by now, but Mr. Michaels was pretty old back then, and most likely he's retired and living his life doing something completely different. And he has no idea how impactful his influence was and how it's influencing me to influence my children. My students are being influenced by Mr. Robinson and Mr. Michaels, and they don't even know who they are. So that's what's going to happen with you. The thousands upon thousands of students that you're teaching will go on to carry on some of your influence and your style. I can't wait to see the new batch of Knoxes that go out into the future and just tear things down, because let me tell you something. In my classroom space, we work hard. We take no prisoners. We go hard every day. It don't matter if it's the first minute of the class or the last minute of the class. We work hard from bell to bell. And just knowing that level of intensity is going into the future makes me smile on the inside. All right. But anyway, I think I saved the best ones for last, the last two. You become someone's champion. All right. Think about that. Sometimes our students can't even go home and tell their parents some of the things that they're going through. They can't tell friends some of the things they're going through. Or sometimes they're struggling with inner issues. And, you know, you won't reach all of them at this particular capacity, but you know the ones that you can reach, right? And you'll become their champions. Sometimes, you know, especially within my school, I'm not even sure a lot of my students have both parents in the house. So a male figure is just rare for them. You know, they go home and it's just, you know, just their mom. Then they come to school and they're in my presence and I'm there and I'm ready to work. I'm ready to be your male figure, father figure, brother figure, whatever you need. I'm there and I'm ready to rock and roll. All right. From a professional standpoint, let's be very clear. But the point is, you get to be someone's champion. You get to be someone's hero. Right. And think about you as an individual. How many teachers helped you get through point A to point Z? All right. How many champions as teachers do you have? In fact, I'm going to challenge you right now. What teacher was most influential, aka your champion, in your life? All right. Drop it in the comment section. What teacher most inspired you? Right. That's the big question. And I got a second question. Do they know how much they inspired you? All right. For me, the answer is no. All right. My top 3 or 5 teachers have no idea how much they meant to me, because I obviously as a student, I couldn't go up and tell them. It would have been a little strange. But I've had students, ironically, tell me how impactful I was on them. I had one student say, even though you were a pain in the foot, or he said a pain in the leg or something weird, he said, you are a great teacher. And I said, you know what? I didn't respond in the way that I wanted to. I just kind of said, you know what? I really appreciate that. And I was done. But we are champions for these kids. And, you know, just being there, showing up every day, that is such a vital and strong and crucial aspect to these children's growth. And it's a blessing to be a blessing to somebody else. All right. Anyway, my last point, you get to be someone's positive force, especially if their home life is hectic. You know, I kind of alluded to this already, but I'll just kind of reiterate it. You get to be a positive force for somebody. This is why it's so important as teachers that we come in with our minds right. You know, this is why it's so important to keep your mind clean and, you know, keep yourself and your mental pure and be focused. I don't know how you get there. I can give you some of my pointers, but again, another episode. But the bigger point is coming in ready to inspire, coming in inspired yourself. I don't know what you have to do. Listen to content that's motivational. You know, go back and listen to Virtuous Teacher episodes, because that's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to motivate you to tap into the virtuous version of yourself. That's what this is all about. Because I understand that by doing this, I'm not only helping you, I'm helping people I don't even know. I'm helping students that you have, things like that. But one of the biggest blessings of being a teacher is that you get to be a positive force for somebody. Positivity in this world has become scarce. I mean, you turn on the news, it's all negativity. Right? You go into your comment section if you make content. A lot of times it's just negative. People they find the one thing you don't do and they they talk about it nonstop. And if you're on Facebook or something like that, look at your wall and look at how many negative things are there. It's just this world glorifies negativity. And as teachers, we're like, human angels, and we're here to do good things and positive things. At least I hope that's what you're doing. And what I mean by that is you're teaching somebody, you're giving them wisdom, you're giving them knowledge, you're correcting their negative behaviors and trying to replace them with positive behaviors. And the essence of being a teacher is helping people, right? Helping people get through their heartaches, their issues. I had a young lady in class today she had her head down on the desk, and I heard the other students, because they can't keep their mouth closed. I guess the young lady had just been dumped by a boyfriend or some kind of guy or whatever, and I kept hearing students say, "Oh, he was ugly anyway." So I couldn't get into the conversation, but I did ask the young lady to come over. I said, "Are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help?" And since I already knew what was going on, I said, "You know what? You are more than enough, and anybody who can't see that, you don't need to waste any more energy or time on them. All right, you are intelligent, you're wise, and you are a great person. All right, just keep your head up and keep doing what you got to do." And I saw that she immediately had a emotional switch where she was able to kind of get out of that rut that she was in. And that's, again, what I mean. We're a positive force. I mean, seriously, we're like the freaking Avengers, man. Like, if you just think about it in that capacity. We all have our special gifts. You have Mr. So-and-so who has the power of physical strength. You have Mrs. So-and-so. She understands math and she can break down things really fast. You have Mr. So-and-so over here. He's really good at designing. I mean, we're basically superheroes, and we are here to do the work. And this is why we're blessed to be teachers. All right. We're blessed to be, these people who positively affect the world. All right. It's a beautiful profession. And the only thing that's lacking is that it needs to pay more. You're going to always hear me say that. I don't care. I'm always going to say it. I'm going to always advocate for teachers to make between $50,000 to $100,000 more per year. Period. I'm always going to do it. And I don't care if you're a kindergarten teacher or if you're a college teacher. All right. And this is why you need to like my content, share my content, because if I get to the top, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to advocate for us. All right. But nevertheless, thank you all for tapping in for just a moment. I hope that this has inspired you and helped you realize how important you are and why it's so important for you to keep your life in track. Because if we're not here to do it, then who's going to do our job for what we're getting paid? Because we're not getting paid enough. I'm going to keep on saying it. All right. But who else is going to do it besides us? All right. We're specially picked. And this is why we have to stay locked in. All right. But anyway, thank you for checking out this episode. I will see you on the next one. Peace.